Hi, hello, happy new year. Today is January 2nd, and as you can see by these two piles next to me, and the title of the video, obviously, I'm going to be talking about what I read this year and continuing my tradition of now, 2 years or so, this being the third. I'll be talking about which ones I'm leaving in my putting on my actual bookshelf, because the ones I read throughout the year I keep in this separate pile, and then the ones that I'm unhauling or giving away, and lastly the ones that I'm going to be purchasing because I've read them in ebook format or maybe audiobook format and loved it and want to keep them. So I'm hoping my mic is good, is on, because I filmed a whole video yesterday on January 1st, but it ended up having terrible video quality because I wanted mood lighting, but it was so grainy. Even though I'm filming on my camera, it's pretty old. The lens is very universal for universal usage, so it's not too good with dark scenes. I'm hoping that this is okay. And then I'm hoping that my mic is okay, because yesterday it was awful. So we'll be going by list, and I have my Goodreads open. I don't support Goodreads, but I still have not finished using them because there's my friends on there. But I do also use Storygraph. I'm just not too used to navigating it. But basically, starting from my first read of the year, it's Tokyo Ever After by Emiko. Most of these books I have talked about in my wrap-up, so I'm just gonna keep it short and concise. Well, basically, it's like a comfort romance read. I really liked it. It had Princess Diary vibes. I enjoy that a lot, but I read it in ebook and audiobook formats, and I don't plan on purchasing it or the second part, but I do the second book came out this year. I actually kind of missed out on the publishing date for some reason, but maybe I'll pick it up at some point, because I think it's about the parents of the main character, and I really like their story, so I want to know more and how it progresses. And basically it's just about this girl that finds out she's the daughter of a Japanese prince or emperor. I think he's an emperor. I don't know, now I'm not too sure. But yeah, that's why I said it's Princess Diary-esque. Then we have first Korean read of the year, 오늘도 사랑스럽게, which is It's a Good Day to Be a Dog. Oh, the cover is so glossy. It's a webcomic or a manhwa, but basically I really enjoyed reading it for the first time in English format. Then I saw it while being in Korea, and I bought it because I thought it's a fun read, so it should be easier to do it in Korean. But actually it did not end up not standing that change of what is it, the challenge of time, and basically I did not enjoy the second read at all, and I'm giving it away to my university because they do have a section that is quite poor when it comes to Korean literature and books in Korean. So yeah, or I'm giving it to my professors, we'll see. Then we have Human Acts by Kang, which totally just shook me to my core. I feel like it's a very important piece of literature, and it's about the Gwangju uprising, which was mostly made up of students fighting against the military regime and in Korea and South Korea. And yeah, it's just very gruesome, very sad, and very human. And yeah, check trigger warnings before reading this, but I definitely recommend it. I think I go a bit more in depth in my wrap-up. I'm not too sure, but yeah. Then I have The Girl from the Other Side, Volume 7, but I'm going to be talking about the whole series separately because I ended up finishing it this year, which is my first ever manga series that I completed reading. Then we have Blind Willow, Sleeping Woman, what is it? Woman, yeah, not Women, by Haruki Murakami. I usually enjoy his short stories way more than books, and this definitely was no exception. And yeah, there's a new short story collection of his that came out this year in Lithuanian, and I think I'll be picking that up. I also have his a Kafka on the Shore in my physical TBR, but I'm not sure about reading it. We'll see. But yeah, this definitely took me ages to read for some reason. I did a break for a while, but I definitely enjoyed most of the stories on here. I even have some sticky notes for my favorite or parts I found important, and I'll definitely be keeping it as well. And yeah, I'm thinking if I have anything more to say, but I don't think so. But basically, this is actually one of the fatty books that I've been meaning to finish for years. I think I started this 2 years ago or so. So yeah, I'm happy I finished this, and maybe I'll do a separate video where I discuss my results of is this year the year of big books? It wasn't, spoiler alert, but I still ended up finishing quite a few bigger books, which I'm proud of. Then I finally started The Sandman this year, which has been a long time coming, but with the TV show coming out, I've been meaning to, it was the last kick that I needed to start it, and I was like, okay, now I'm finally I need to get to it, because I've been just thinking about it, toying with the idea for ages. And the first volume was a bit chaotic, a lot of everything, especially the art style too. So it wasn't perfect, but I still really enjoyed it, and I've continued with the series, as you will see. Then we have The Wild Iris by Louise Glück. It's a poetry collection, but ultimately I did not enjoy it at all. There were a few poems that I liked, but it's very heavily influenced by the Bible and stuff like that, and I am more of a poetry that's based on just emotion person, I guess. And also just I don't like poetry most of the time. There are a few exceptions, and I'm trying to get into it. I'm testing the water, seeing what I might like, but definitely this was not it. It has a lot of awards, I think, even maybe a Pulitzer Prize, but I'm not too sure. It was a candidate for a Nobel Prize in 2020, so yeah, that is a great compliment, but it wasn't for me, and I will try to sell it. If not, I'll just give it to my local library. But I was a bit sad about this because it also has inside English and Lithuanian, the original English and Lithuanian translation versions, and I feel that's a very good format to have when you're reading, to see how people interpreted it differently. But ultimately, yeah, it wasn't for me. And I guess I discovered that I don't really care for poems that need me to dissect it. I'm more, as I said, of a person that enjoys poems that kind of just want to portray emotion in a very I can't say simple, but more minimalistic way, I guess, that is just more easily accessible. I guess that should be what I should say. It may sound that I am kind of lazy or just not cultured enough for this, and that might be the truth, but it is what it is right now. Then we have volumes 8, 9, and 10 of The Girl from the Other Side, and On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Ocean Vuong. I'm hoping that I pronounced it correctly. I'm sorry. And basically, it's also written by a poet, and they kind of are mostly known for their poetry, but they wrote a book about their own experiences. It's kind of an open letter to their mother, who can't read English, but it just explores identity and like all kinds of identities that we have, which is like, you know, your ethnic background, your sexual identity, your identity as a person in general, and also a lot of like generational trauma and PTSD from war. And stuff like that. If I remember correctly, the main character is Vietnamese, and their family immigrated into America. And I really enjoyed, like, loved and was touched by a lot of moments in this. However, it ended up being quite disappointing in some ways. Like, a lot of people loved this. I'm sure you most likely heard about this book, but for me, like, the parts about kind of like coming of age and that were related to the partner that's the main I don't know, character person had, were kind of just not too interesting, which I know is not good to say because it's about an actual person, but yeah, so I just found them kind of not what I was looking for. And I guess the structure, I felt it was too chaotic, and the writing at times I felt was too indulgent, and it just kind of diverted from the storytelling and just focused on like being very artsy, which is what a poet would do, I guess. But in a book, it wasn't very enjoyable in some parts. In some parts, it was pretty and nice to read. In some parts, it felt just distracting from the actual like idea or story. It was a bit too much for me. And then we have Walk on Water, which is a BL comic. It's about like two people working in the porn industry. I found the discussions about that kind of cool and interesting to see. But ultimately it was, like a story for entertainment based mostly because it's a BL comic, webtoon if you will. But it is iconic, it is well known, so I wanted to check it out. I did enjoy myself. I found the relationship to be a bit too fragmented, because at some points it just kind of took me out of their story. It just felt like I was just being dropped in these random moments, so I couldn't feel their development. I felt, so it didn't feel too organic or natural, and then it kind of ruined it for me, like the excitement for their just, their moments in the relationships, I guess. But yeah, it was not too bad. I liked it. Then we have, I like to just find, I guess that's what I wanted to say. Then we have my second read in Korean of the year, which is Cheese in a Trap, Volume 2. I read this in English a long time ago. I watched the K-drama before reading it in English because I didn't know it was in webtoon originally, but I really liked it in English. I'm enjoying it in Korean. This definitely stood the test of time, and I plan on continuing with it. I like the jokes, like the sense of humor. Not too much to say about the main like romantic relationship yet because there's not too much happening, but yeah, there's that, and I still have the third volume, like physical volume, so I can't wait to get to that. Then we have The Wings by Isang, which is an author from colonial Korea when it was occupied by Japan, and it was written in 1936, I believe, and during that time the regime was especially harsh. There's it's written in prosodic language, which is just kind of there's like 3 short stories, and they're all about this guy or just character that is very like a burden to people, and it's kind of apathetic towards life in a way, and there's like a lot of metaphors, and I'm still not too sure I got them all. I probably didn't get any, so I still want to read about it, like some dissertation, or maybe someone just has this whole like article or whatever, but I haven't gotten around to it. However, I still really enjoyed it, even without like grasping the full potential of it and what it's trying to say, but knowing just a bit of context, because it was recommended by our East Asian art professor, but also Korean history professor at the same time. So yeah, I really thank her for the recommendation. I really enjoyed this, and it's quite an important piece of literature in terms of history for Korea, and depicting the times that Korea was in during colonial era. And then we have so I had to take a bit of a break to take a call and also charge my camera a bit because the battery was dying. And basically I read The Adventures of Tom Sawyer by Mark Twain. It's obviously for younger audiences, but it's kind of a Disney movie. I feel bad comparing classics to actual Disney, but yeah, it had some moments that were kind of very critical of the society at the time, and it was these nuggets that were interesting to read, even to a person my age. Aside from being just entertaining, it also had kind of horror elements, and I definitely enjoyed that. But yeah, there's that. It was pretty okay. I'm still keeping it because it's a classic, and it's been, I feel one of the longest standing books on my TBR, so I'm really glad to have read that. And it was pretty an easy, fun read, basically. However, it did have some moments that had racist language, and it was interesting. I was surprised to see that the Lithuanian translation stayed faithful to it, and I do wonder whether that was intentional to just kind of give way to just how it was at the time, or is it just because during when this was translated? I'm not sure, but it's this kind of format for classics. It's 2011, because I remember being starting my teenagehood. That's when this was very popular, these type of publishing, this format for publishing classics. But yeah, so I do wonder whether it was just because there was not enough education in Lithuania at the time about racist language and what that means. So then we have Emma by Austen. This also has been a book I've been reading for quite a long time. I feel it was almost 2 years too. I've listened to the audiobook mainly, but I really like how layered the story is and how you can read it in kind of different, read it and search for different topics and different explorations of those topics in this. So I really liked it, and I think I will reread it at some point. I also watched the movie after the newest adaptation. I really loved the casting. But I feel that if you want to fully enjoy the movie, reading the book is a must, because it kind of serves as a filler for some of the scenes that might be pretty confusing to people that have not read the book and are not sure about the characters and their motivations, or what led them to behave this way or that way. That is motivations. I'm repeating myself. Either way, then we're moving on. We have Images from a Childhood. I'm pretty sure that's the English name. It's by Fosse. I hope I pronounced that right. But it's also a few short stories. And I really especially enjoyed the last one, which was about this grandpa just going passing away basically, and what leads up to it. And that was very beautiful and touching in my opinion, but not too sweet. I really feel it has that, there's this kind of concept of European novella, I guess, genre that was forcefully created. It isn't used anymore, and it didn't last for very long, but I feel this would fit it, because it has this, I don't know, just this atmosphere that is very European in a way, and it is quite minimalistic as well, Northern European, I guess. And yeah, so I just really like these stories, and I gave it a 5-star rating because I really, really liked it. And I do recommend it, and I do plan on checking out like other stories of this author. Moving on to the second pile, we have the Sandman, the Doll's House, the second volume, and this one I really loved it because it had more of a cohesive story and characters I really liked. So yeah, this was very fun. And very sad too. So like when I say fun, I just say that like enjoyable. I mean enjoyable. It doesn't mean it was very like funny or anything. Then still moving on with Neil Gaiman, my summer was full of his stories, which I can't complain about. I really loved it. It's Good Omens. It was written by Neil Gaiman, as I mentioned, with Terry Pratchett. I've never read Terry Pratchett's books before. I do plan on to, because I really like the style of humor in this. I feel like this was such a powerful collaboration, and I really want to watch the TV show adaptation because I love the actors too. Yeah, I can't wait for the second season, which was gonna be like what the second book was kind of supposed to be, but this is actually like a standalone originally, and I really like the whole story. It's basically an angel and a demon, longtime friends, buddies, maybe something deeper. If you like, I like to look at it as something deeper between them, but since they are kind of just creations that are above humans, it can be really put into a box of just a romantic relationship. But basically their companionship is very I don't know, it's just very close and very precious to read about, and it's funny, it's thoughtful. I have quite a few jokes that I even like underlined, if I remember correctly, and it's basically just them trying to prevent an Armageddon from happening, and there's a lot of adventure and I guess even philosophical, kind of toying with philosophical ideas in a really simple, like minimalistic way. I'm switching from simple to minimalistic because I feel like simple has a negative connotation more often than not, but this was just a delight to read, and I gave it 5 stars. Then we're moving on to not so delightful reads. This fic boy, which is Glassword by Victoria Aveyard. I read, like, mostly listened to the audiobook of this because this was kind of a I don't know, just a chore to get through. The first book, I remember Red Queen. I remember, was it the Red Queen or just Red Queen? Can't remember. But I do remember really loving it and how fast-paced it was and just being very intrigued. But I don't know how past like teenager me would have felt about like this book. But like now present me found the main character just annoying in this, and just in general feeling like I think there's a reason why I don't read most of YA anymore. I still find books that I like from that genre. It's definitely important, but there's a lot of like tropes that I really can't get into that are quite popular among these books, especially during this time when this was published, because I think it was like 2011, something around that time as well. And yeah, I don't know, there's nothing much to say. I wasn't even interested enough to like do a good old rant. Okay, it was 2016 actually, when it was translated at least, but I think it was published around like similar time. And the translation itself, like the Lithuanian one, is quite poor. There's like moments that are just completely taken out, like sentences that kind of don't give the context to that is necessary, and you're just more confused than ever, which definitely did not add to the experience. But even in the English audiobook, which was also kind of confusing with the voices, kind of just you're not even sure who is talking of. But either way, I feel like it was a bit of a disaster. I read what the other, I think, 2 books and a short story collection, or like 2 short story novellas were about in the like remaining books of the series, and I don't think I missed too much. I don't like missed out on too much because I don't really even like the world. It's basically I think it's a metaphor for racism, but it doesn't completely fit. It's about like people that have like silver blood and have like powers, and then people with red blood that are seen as lower than, like lesser than. And then this main character, she's a red like blood, but she has powers. And then there's people, like she finds out there's more people that have those abilities as well, while also having red blood. And there's like uprisings and wars and history, and they're like saying that before, because silvers had powers, they were oppressed by the red bloods, and then there was like a revolution, and so it switched, and now there's this, and there's like a love triangle, and the main character keeps like remembering and loving this, like one of the dudes from the main love triangle, that is basically a cold-blooded killer that wanted to cause a children massacre, basically, speaking in very simple terms. So yeah, I gave it to like 1.5 star, I think, because, well, I still felt it had some effort put into this, so I couldn't give it 1 star. Then I read The Tao of Pooh, which is what I had to read for my Taoism class, and I really found the concept very endearing and very cool. I keep trying to finish this and my camera keeps dying. I realized I forgot to mention that Glass Sword is the only book I'm giving away out of the ones that I mentioned before. And the other ones are staying, and The Tao of Pooh is the one that I want to actually buy because I really liked it. It's basically the Taoism, the concepts of Taoism explained through Pooh and like Winnie the Pooh and his character and his behavior, because he's really a good representation, turns out. So yeah, I really want to keep it buy it because I have even like some quotes that I've saved that I want to like underline so I can open it and just read it whenever, because I feel like it's also just a bit like inspiring about how to live your life more peacefully. Yeah, then we have Kim Jiyoung, born in 1982. As you can see, I have annotations, and like only one of them because I used this for my pop literature class presentation, because I really love this so much. It has quite a dry writing style, but I feel like it is kind of what gives it even better, like it makes it better and better represents the story, because it is basically experiences of a lot of women in South Korea put into this one character and her family. And yeah, for those that are interested in feminism and just social issues of South Korea, I really recommend this. I know that a lot of people have read this already. I'm kind of late to the game, but this book is really great. I actually wrote, like even before reading this, on my first year of university, I wrote a paper on like its impact on the society, I think, or something along those lines. So yeah, it's just great. I read this partially in English on ebook, and then I bought it in Lithuanian, but the translation is not that great. I prefer the English version actually, but yeah, I'm still keeping it, and I do plan on rereading it at some point. And it's also, I feel like, one of those like Tao of Pooh and this one are the books that kind of got me into reading more again, because they were so easy to read. Then we have Orange. Then we have Orange, the Omnibus Volume 2. It's, I don't know, I took a break from reading it a bit, like I put it down for a while because the character got a bit too annoying. But later when I picked it up, I actually didn't have a problem with it at all. It's basically about these friends in high school, and one of their it's like a time travel drama in a way, and coming of age story. So it's just like the future them trying to save their friend from him taking his own life. So definitely trigger warning for discussions of suicide and mentions of it. But there's also like an extra story in this. Oh god, I forgot the name. But it got me so confused because I wasn't like expecting for it to be a thing, and I was like, it was very like clichéful and just quite basic, entertaining, but nothing I was looking for at that moment, so I just kind of read it because I wanted to finish like the volume and put it away. So that was not too nice, but it's called Haruhiro Astronaut, and it's a one-shot story, and it was a surprise, and I don't know why it's not mentioned anywhere on the pages on the front like of the book, or even the back of the book, or even the spine anywhere. But yeah, like the overall orange story I really liked. I gave it 5 stars actually to the second volume, and I definitely recommend for anyone that wants something that's not too like more concise and doesn't span in like, I don't know, in many volumes, which usually is quite like a feature of manga. So, and it has like romance and friendship, but yeah, the extra story wasn't too good. It was very like fanfiction like, and not in a too fun way. It was okay, but nothing I would recommend. Then we have Fata Morgana, which is a Lithuanian written story like by a Lithuanian author. I really liked it. I plan on actually like looking out for any future releases by this author. It's like horror based, but it has historical fiction elements, and actually the historical fiction elements were what kind of knocked down the rating for me, because I really liked the creepy stories that were kind of based on the author's grandma's retellings, but in like the smaller town near a river in Lithuania. But the historical context kind of that like came later, and like the moral of the story I felt like was very rushed and made the story kind of fragmented, which it's already like a very short book. So yeah, I wished it was more solid on like a topic and just chose to focus on that, and then I would have given it a higher rating, but I'm keeping it, and I gave it 3 stars. Then I read The Blonde Will Get Whatever She Wants. I read this for university, like because we had a discussion with like this author. It was not good. It was like the main character felt very unrealistic, very stereotypical blonde, but also very extra in ways that were nice and very disrespectful to people, but it wasn't like shown as a bad thing. And I don't mean that like she should have been condemned, but it just made us feel so unrealistic, and not in a fun way, just like, why does this exist like that? But yeah, moving on, I have Bloodstain and Ponderworld. Both are webcomics by Linda Sheikh or Sheikh, I'm not too sure. But basically, Bloodstain is about like a scientist and his assistant. It's still ongoing, so I can't tell you a lot, but I do know from the author's posts on Instagram that it ends up with them getting together. So I really like, I like knowing that, and just then I can be like, oh, just take it away, I will read it. And then Ponderworld is inspired by Hades and Persephone and their myth. And yeah, I really enjoy these so far. Both of them have the first Ponderworld has 1 season out. Bloodstain is now like in the middle of the 2nd season, I think. Yeah, it's continuing along. I didn't rate in anything because it's not finished, but I really liked it. Then we have Mr. Impossible by Maggie Stiefvater, one of my favorite authors, and it's a spin-off series of one of my favorite series of all time, which is the Raven Cycle. And this is the second, like it's the Dreamer trilogy, and this is the 2nd book. It took a while for me to finish it because I ended up like skimming through it because I was so like interested in what happens, that then like getting back and like reading through it was like it took a while to like motivate myself to do that, because then I was like, oh no, I'll have to go through this emotional turmoil even in more detail, because this definitely was emotional. And gotta say, the main character Ronan, which we all love, at least most of the people that have read the Raven Cycle, was quite annoying in this. I know that it's like a transitional book, so I'm hoping that in the 3rd book he kind of evolves, because I do really love him, but like his brothers Matthew and Declan were what took the main stage for me in this one, and like their relationship with Jordan, one of the characters, I just felt was so precious and fulfilling, and she was like the sane mind that everyone needed to like see it everything from a different perspective, which was much needed. And I do have the third book, but I'm so sad to like let this series go, because after this there will be no more like spin-offs. There is a graphic novel coming out, which I'm so excited about. But yeah, other than that, I'm just sad that it's like the end for this series, so I don't know when I'll get around to reading the third book and the final installment. And I did read some of parts of this in audiobook, which is great. Like I can't remember the name, but like the narrator, he narrates most of Maggie's Tea Water books, I believe, and he's amazing. I love it. And Maggie's music that she uses in the audiobook recordings. Then we have Sandman Volume 3, Dream County, which has like short stories, and one of them even has an award, which is Midsummer Night's Dream. But I definitely loved all of them. Calliope and I can't remember the name of the third one, and it's not written anywhere here, I think. Either way, also like the foreword or the introduction, these like special 30th anniversary editions have them, and it was just so touching. I just really enjoyed it. I can't tell you a lot because this is like short stories, but I hope that you check it out even without like reading the other volumes. This is a great as a standalone to just kind of see how it is and test the waters. Then we have Winter in Sokcho, which is by a Korean-French writer about a Korean-French character, and it has romance. It's about like this, but it's not really like completely focused on that. It's more about identity, and it's about this young woman who lives in Sokcho, which is very near the North Korean border, and this French man that arrives there to find inspiration. I flew through this book. I love the atmosphere in this. It's so like cold, but also just very like the descriptions are so good. And it is winter. I started reading this during winter, and I felt that it fits so well. This is quite a popular book already too, so you might have heard. Sorry, checking for sounds, but you might have heard about it already. Either way, I do recommend it for someone that loves like contemporary and kind of just identity. This also touches on like not only ethnic identity, because you know she's mixed race, but also is it race or ethnicity? I always mix these two up. I'm sorry, but there's also like about how cities like and places are touched by war, because you know like Sokcho is basically like the war between Koreas is not over, so it's in constant kind of state of that, but also in kind of slumber, because people keep forgetting, like have forgotten about it, because due to the past. Okay, shitty quality camera time, but I really want to finish this video, and I don't have much time, and I have already like filmed it once already, and I just either way. So continue with Winter in Sokcho. It basically just touches upon the topic of that city, like Sokcho, and like how the people have been affected by war, but also how the Frenchman, who is also from a town that was affected by the World War, and how it's just how it affected this, but also like the memory of it, how it faded, but is still can be seen in places. And then we have junctures. Oh god, I keep forgetting what's the English name, but it's basically and it's like there's like a smaller font, like unknown stories of Kaunas, which is the city I was born in, and it's about people like based on whom like on their names streets were named, and they're like unique stories, and I found this very like interesting to read about, and a piece of information that I wouldn't have found otherwise probably. But also my not my but also like the narrator, I really liked his humor and like his little like interludes where he appeared and talked about like reflected on the stories. However, it's so beautifully done, but I was a bit annoyed by the font because it's very light and it's quite tiring to read sometimes. And I just wanted more. I felt this was too little, and especially by the end, like the last story had quite a lot of text but not a lot of drawing. This probably was because of deadlines or something. This is most likely like independently published or something close to that, because this is like done by not a well-known publishing company. So maybe it was due to time constraints or just working like helping hands constraints, whatever. So there's that, but I still really loved it, and I will be looking out for any other like published pieces by this publishing house. And then lastly, we finally have The Girl from the Other Side. This year I read through volumes 7, 8, oh god, there's like something on it, 8, 9, 10, and 11, which is the last one, or it was supposed to be, but as I finished it on the last day of the new year, while on the train going to like a party for the New Year's, I found out there's like a 12 volume, which with short stories that's coming out. So I felt a bit betrayed, and not gonna lie, the last volume didn't really fulfill my expectations. I really hope to get like more ground information. I guess shortly about the plot. There's like outsiders and insiders, and the outsiders, they have this curse that later turns them into these like beastly kind of beings. And yeah, I wanted to find out more about the curse. We did found out like about these two main characters, which is Teacher and Shiva, and I found that was pretty like well done, and I liked where it went. But I wanted to find out about the people. Like we did get some scenes about them in previous volumes, so I wanted some closure in that, because it is left open, very open-ended, especially about the people. And I don't mind it being open-ended, but I wanted um just more substance, something that I could base my own theories on how it ended, like how it could have ended. And that definitely involves knowing about, like, that definitely involves still knowing more about how, like, the people, how it, like, came to be and what happened to them. I just felt like it was too rushed and I wanted more in like the universe. I know that most of the story is about the two characters, so it's kind of the most important part, but I needed more context to base their future on in like my own head, even if the author didn't plan on giving us any like concrete ending, which is fine. But yeah, it's just very nice. Like the art style is so beautiful. I'm still keeping it because I probably will reread it at some point. It's so atmospheric, it's so peaceful most of the time. And then it gets very sad. But I just really like the style and of the storytelling too, even with these like flaws. So definitely recommend. I will probably watch the short anime thing that has been done quite recently, based on this manga. And yeah, I think that's it. I tried to do it fast, but in some parts I talk too much, and I think this is gonna be a long video. But so thank you so much for watching. I'm basically like unhauling only, I think, 3 books. Yeah, which I don't have with me, like all of them right now. Some of them are on my bed, but it's free books, and yeah, I'll have to find spaces on on my shelves for the other ones, which is gonna be hard, but kind of fun too, because like it's always fun to touch books and put them in new places and see everything turn around and like more like turn over in more interesting ways. And also like for at least like Glassword, I think I'll like unhaul the Red Queen as well, which before I was planning on keeping because, as I said, like I was very invested and really liked it, but now I don't think I have any plans on rereading it, at least not anytime in the near future. So it's just taking up space, and yeah, I'm not continuing with the series and so on. Yeah, other than that, thank you for watching, and there will I plan on making more videos about like my year in reading and what the 2023 is bringing into my reading and my reading plans. And also I have vlogmas that I haven't edited, like some parts of it, so that is coming. That is not disappearing. Thank you so much for watching my channel in general this year and this past year already. Today's 2023. I keep forgetting. I'm sure most of you do too. So bye.